2006 I had this really profound moment where I forgave for the first time, and I'd been trying to forgive for 15 years at that point. I was visiting my sister in South Florida, so it's really warm, and it's like the middle of the night, and I put my rollerblades on, and I'm like, I'm gonna go skate because it's nice and warm at night there, and it's too hot during the day. And there was what turns out to be a Bodhi tree, which is really funny, right? But they've got all these beautiful big Bodhi trees there. It was my favorite tree by the water, and I'm like, I'm gonna stop here and meditate. The moon was really big in the sky, and I took off my skates and I just sat down to meditate. And when I sat down, I'm like, this is the time to forgive. I'm ready. And I knew when I was 17 leaving the house that I needed to forgive. I'd read an article in a stupid magazine, a silly little magazine, right? And I knew I needed to forgive. I couldn't find that place in my heart. In that moment, I went through every memory I had of everyone who had ever hurt me, including the President of the United States that I thought was hurting the United States, including Jesus Christ, including like someone who just said something mean when I was 4 years old and hurt my feelings, like, and then the people who had raped me or had abused me, things like this. So everything, the whole spectrum, right? It was the most liberating moment of my life. And in that moment, I absolutely transcended time. There was a moment where my consciousness shifted, and all of a sudden, I could see the illusion of all of it. And I could see clearly that none of this was really real the way I thought it was. It was just leading me to right here, right now, so I could embrace that vibration of forgiveness.
Back up a second. None of it was real as I thought it was.
Yeah.
So that part that you thought it was the illusion. And how do you know what the real part is?
We're getting deep right now, right? So for me, this whole existence as we know it is illusion. And this is a basic tenet of Buddhism. In the yogic traditions, you'll find this. And even in like the Bible, so be in the world, not of it, right? So there's all these things pointing to this, that we are living almost in a dreamlike state. We think we're awake, but it's just another level of dream. And this whole coming into enlightenment or awakening is about waking up from this dream. Yeah? So
and the dream
is the suffering.
Oh, this is good, Sarah.
The dream is the suffering. The dream is bound by time. When you look at the wheel of life, all these different levels you go through, animal, human, God realms, all these different, and you're kind of going in this cycle, and you're going around and around and around, yeah? And wrapped around it is the Lord of Death. And it is the wheel of time. So it's interesting, when we do practices like meditation, when we pray and you're deep in devotional prayer, and it could be through song, it could be silent prayer, when you're in nature, anything where you lose time, I believe we're transcending the density of the clock, of the watch. There's a density that we're born into when there's a schedule for everything. This may sound a little out there.
I have never thought about it this way. I think you're onto something.
For me, it's becoming clearer and clearer every day.
So the density, the transcending the density of losing track of time, in that moment you've tapped into what?
You've tapped into a more pure state of being. So, and this is different than I've had a few drinks and now I've lost track of time.
Exactly.
Or I'm so busy, I lost track of time. No. This is when we're so present and our heart is open. Yeah. There's something about the open heart. You know, we hear a lot about presence these days, but that open heart, we got to bring them together. You know, when the heart is wide open and we're present, we're connecting with higher dimensions. We're connecting with the sweet heart of the universe, if you will. If you look in traditions around the world, they all point towards the heart. They all point towards the heart. And I don't care if it's Christianity, if it's Islam, if it's Buddhism, if it's Hinduism. There's so many tiny little traditions around the world. They're all pointing towards the heart. When this heart is open, when I'm present, the density, the heaviness of this structure that's held by time is lifted. Einstein he found the equation that he understood time is not linear, in this time-space continuum, which is interesting because when you meditate and you lose time, you lose yourself. We're transcending this time-space as we know it. I'm not a physicist, but I know that directly. I've experienced that directly. I experienced melting into a space where I'm not bound by this body anymore. I'm much more expanded. Where oftentimes I'll even lead a meditation and people will be like, I thought it was about like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's been a half hour or it's been an hour. From the time we were little babes, we've been wrapped up in clothing and then wrapped up in stories. We've been told how it is. We've been asked to sit down, eat at this time, don't speak, don't feel, don't sing, don't scream. We've been given a lot of rules. I believe our natural state is joyful. I believe our natural state is in celebration. I believe that if there is an organizing principle of this universe that is aligned with love, then we are put here to experience love in its fullest sense, which means laughter and dance and creation and
I think you're
song.
right now speaking your creed, Sarah. I'm glad this is recorded because when you hear this back, those 4 elements, I think those are going to be pivotal for where you're headed.
Thank you.
So you becoming you right now, Miss Yogi, you're on this yoga path. Let's back up to that for a second. Tell me more, because you said that to me a little while ago, that I was on a yoga path.
Yeah.
What does that mean at these different stages in our lives? Because you and I are 23 years apart in age. That's a very different stage in life, and yet we connect so heart zone here.
Yeah.
So there's as if there's no space. But still, we are at different stages in our lives. How is the yoga path in your world, and how do you think it will be going forward for you?
I just want to affirm how when we met, it was an instant connection.
It was instant.
And it's a resonance, and we recognize each other.
Yes, and there was a recognition.
And with the yogic path, my definition, and please, this isn't about, I haven't written it down or anything, but just
Not yet.
the definition, not yet. Really, of a yogi is a truth seeker, is a love seeker, you can say God seeker. Anyone who wants to experience the fullness of all that they are and the fullness of the divine as intimately as possible, as directly as possible, this is a yogi.
Yeah, but you're alive right now and life sucks a lot of times. So how does a yogi live in that world?
Yeah. And so what I feel with, life throws some curveballs and there are some really uncomfortable periods. I think what we're reaching for as we transcend and as we shift our consciousness is a place of equanimity. This is a powerful vibration. I never understood equanimity, the value of it. I could conceptualize it. It's a big part of Buddhism, right? They talk about, so equanimity, when we're not judging one thing as higher or lower than another, right? I could, with my head, see the value. And I was like, but what about love? Love feels so much better, and joy, and why would I want equanimity when I can have big love or something like this?
That's really good.
It's interesting, right?
Yeah.
My mind has created a separation betwing the two.
There
I don't
we go.
believe they're separate. I believe they're actually one and the same. They support each other. But with equanimity, I can love all equally. Not just my sisters that I feel an instant connection with. I can love the one that betrayed me just as well. I can love my sweet angels that are supporting me every day, and those demons as well that have haunted me and haunted my dreams and tortured me, and all the shadows that we've tried to run away from. When I'm in a space of equanimity, it's all the same. What I understand is it is all the divine. Because if there is a single organizing divine principle in the universe, it must contain everything within it, and it must be within everything. You will see this, you will hear this in the Upanishads, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Bible. You will hear this omniscience, omnipotence, omnipresence, everywhere. So in the Bible, we say it's Yeshua, it's God, it's the Logos, it's the I am, In the Gita, it's Brahman, it's I am. I am, by the way, that's just crosses through most traditions, right? There's an I am element. And even in Buddhism, where there's no Godhead, which I think it's funny, ultimate reality in Buddhism is emptiness. It's shunyata, it's emptiness. But the English word empty and emptiness, those words do not suffice as a good enough translation, for shunyata. Shunyata is the fullest thing, empty of all things.
Oh, jeez. How do I even wrap my mind around that?
Yeah. And we can't really wrap the mind around it, though many of us try. What I've experienced when I experience that directly, this space where everything is contained yet there is no thing. Obviously, I wasn't attached to this form, body, when I was in that space. I was obviously transcending this, but we do it all the time, like we talked about. And I think that's important to mention, that even people who aren't spiritual, on a spiritual path, they do it. A mother breastfeeding her baby must at some point get lost in the experience. I've never had a little baby, but I would imagine there are moments where you kind of just melt away. Art, even like extreme sports where people have to be super
climbing a mountain.
Yeah.
You cannot be anywhere but present if you're on the side of a mountain.
But creating art, writing, I think any kind of art, regardless of the medium, that's definitely a place where people kind of lose themselves. What is this about? I'm losing myself. Well, then what's left? Why do we like it so much when we lose ourselves?
Ooh.
This is powerful. So in the yogic tradition, Hindu, Buddhist, understand they're very different. This is not about a religion when it comes to yoga. It's really not.
No, yoga's not about religion.
No. But it's interesting, right? Because it pulls in wisdom from different philosophies. And it's
very
just
organic in that way.
It's such a mystery how it just comes through. I believe it's like in our DNA, it's in our cells, it's somewhere. This wisdom is universal. It's like that perennial philosophy that we find in all different traditions around the world. But I think I was talking about that I am, right? That I am that's ever present in all these traditions. In the self, losing ourself, right? That little self versus the big self. So in the Gita, they'll use a big self versus a little self. Capital S, lowercase self. So the lowercase self is Sara. I'm 45 years old. I'm a yoga teacher. I was married. I'm now separated. Like there's the whole story. I love chocolate. I don't like to eat octopus. You know what I mean? Like these things. Yeah. So all this story.
In fact, okay, I didn't know about the octopus.
It's just a
We'll
funny
still
little
be
random
friends,
thing.
But yeah.
I like octopus. I just don't like to eat them. But the big Sara self is not a Sara. The big self is not a Sara. The big self is perhaps who you have resonated with when we're in class together. And I don't even want to say I'm teaching. When I'm just sitting there at the front of the room and we're all flowing together, and I give all of myself to the divine and say, let me be a mouthpiece for you. Let this body be an offering to you. To you, spirit, whatever wants to come through right now. That spirit that is love, that is divine love, let you speak through me. And it's not something we can necessarily just turn on and off. And maybe we can.
Well, you have a way of my very first class with you. I think I came to you afterwards and said that something you said struck me, in that you said, I'm here to serve you. And I'd never heard an instructor, which I wouldn't even put you in the category of instructor. You're not somebody who teaches a modality you've learned. You are simply doing what you are, Sara. You are yoga. And that's part of why I wanted to have this conversation with you, because how does someone become what they are, what they're representing to the world? It's not like a hat you put on. I'm a yoga teacher now. You're not that. You're way more than that. And this intrigues me. And the conversation around what we're talking about isn't me talking to a yoga instructor. It's someone who that's a big piece of your world. It inhabits a big piece of your world, and probably informs a lot of how you move through it. And yet it's certainly not, I don't see you as a normal teacher of that. Am I making that clear?
Absolutely. And I appreciate that. I can appreciate that totally.
Description.
I don't believe I'm teaching yoga to anyone. In my heart of hearts, I'm not teaching a thing. We're coming together in communion. We are communing with spirit, with presence, with love. We call in love. Divine love is always my bottom line, and it will always be my bottom line. And, maybe I even have to put that on the altar, but with love.
And why would you have to put that on the altar?
Because I don't want to get attached to the concept of it or my idea of it.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Who talks about this? You have to give up the things. What was it? The first thing you said to me this morning. We have to give up the things we want the most, or that we. What was it you said?
The things we identify with. Was
Yeah.
it identify with?
It was
or
something
we're
about
attached to.
how
or,
we want things to be. We really have to give that up.
Yeah. Everything we think we want, everything we think we need, everything we think we are, everything we think we were, we're going to be, we want to be, all of this. Anything that we think is going to make us happy, right? Because it's all about we want to be happy, right?
Yeah.
We gotta give it all up. Everything we're pushing away because we're like, please don't ever let that happen. Oh my God, that would be the end of me. Don't keep it away, right? Grasping an aversion,
Yeah.
right? I don't want that. We gotta let it all down.
But in order to do that, we have to have trust somewhere in something.
Yeah, we have to have deep trust, but we don't, and that's why we have to get ripped apart. I think that's what it is.
Okay.
We
follow
have
that.
to have deep trust. If we could just drop into deep trust, I think we could make this shift without any pain.
Of what?
Deep trust in some organizing principle, in that life is innately, at its core, good and loving and going to take care of us. And that we were put here to experience our God self, not hell, not suffering, not to struggle, not to earn a good life. And because we don't have that trust, and it's nothing to be ashamed of, and it's nothing to judge ourselves over, but because that trust has been damaged, yeah? And it has been for generations. We've been living with this for generations. According to the yogis, it's the Kali Yuga period. It's this very dark period. We're coming out of it. We talk even about in Christianity, there's this apocalypse, which I understand not to be like a destruction of everything, but a returning to our wholeness and a bringing things to light, I believe is actually the root of the word. I have a friend who wrote a song about it, and she's like, let me tell you what this word means. And it was really sweet. We're shedding light on everything, right? In astrology, they talk about the age of Aquarius, so there's a lot of people around the world that have seen that there's this dark period we've been through. Our trust has been broken, and this is generational. This has been going on for a while. In order for us to be reunited with that deep trust, and honestly, ultimately, we even transcend trust because we don't even need it anymore when we are back to our oneness.
That's interesting. When we transcend trust, when we're back to our oneness.
It's like, you know what? When I experienced the vibration of compassion for the first time about 2 years ago, it's not that I'm not a compassionate, loving person. It's not that I'm not empathetic. I'm very empathetic. And you know what? And I don't wear it as a badge of honor or anything. A lot of us who were abused, our boundaries, we didn't get to have boundaries. So we feel everything. And so either we get mean or we want to fix everything, you know? Either we turn it off or it's full on and we can't turn it off, and so we feel everyone. For those of us who've been through this, and when I found compassion, it kind of blew doors on forgiveness. And up until that point, I really thought forgiveness was the most powerful thing.
Right.
And I'm not knocking it, and it's huge. It was a huge part of my life. But when I tapped into compassion, and it was when all of this stuff with my ex actually started to surface, it was the very beginning of that, somehow I was kind of ripped apart and then blessed with compassion, and I was able to see for the first time there was nothing to forgive because none of this ever really happened. It was different than when I saw in the forgiveness that this was illusion. What I could see with the compassion is that my mother, my father, they didn't hurt me. There was energy that kind of like was moving through them that hurt me in this field, in this story. But no mother wants to hurt her child. No father wants to hurt his child. Not one. The cruelest, most brutal, and I don't care if they've literally chopped up their children, and like, it is not coming from the heart of that person. I do not believe the human heart is built that way. I do not believe the human heart is flawed like that. I believe we were made in the image of God. I do believe there was a separation that happened, and when that separation happens, some other energy comes in. And
The aberration.
Yeah, and that's what's creating all the suffering and the pain. So when I was in this state and blessed with this vibration and in this state of compassion, that dimension, if you will, there was nothing to forgive. I actually only had compassion for my mother, that she had to live through this experience of perceiving herself to have beat me as much as she did.
Oh, Sarah, that's huge. Now I'm going to stop right